Okay, I think we've got everyone that was in the waiting room and people might continue to join us, which is fine. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for giving up some of your Wednesday night to join us for this webinar. Before we kick off tonight, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands we're all joining from tonight, and also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're discussing tonight around the Niddrie and North Essendon activity centres. And that's the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders that are on the call with us tonight. My name is Elise. I'm an independent facilitator from RPS, and I'm here tonight to host the information session between you and the VPA on the Niddrie and North Essendon activity centres. My role tonight is really just to keep us to time and make sure that after the presentation we get through as many of your questions as we can. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. If you do need to use captions during the session, you can turn those on the bottom toolbar on your screen. The session is going to be recorded, and that's just so that those who couldn't attend are able to watch the session back. You won't be identifiable in the recording, and you'll notice that through the webinar setup in Zoom that your cameras and mics are set to off. We've also disabled the chat function. However, you will be able to interact through the Q&A function to the bottom right of your screen. So if you do have any questions during the session, please pop them in there, and we'll come to those at the end of the session, but you're welcome to add them at any time throughout the session. If you're happy to, we'd love you to submit your questions under your name rather than anonymously. And that's purely so that if there's anything we need to follow up with you, we have a way of getting in touch with you. So if you're happy to do that, that would make life a little bit easier. We'd also like you to use the upvoting function. So you'll be able to see each other's questions in that Q&A chat. And you can upvote questions that you agree with or that you're also interested in by just giving them a thumbs up. And we'll use that to help prioritize if we get a lot of questions, which ones we answer first. And just finally, a reminder just to keep your questions and comments kind and respectful. So our agenda tonight, we have the VPA here to present to you on their draft plans for Niddrie and North Essendon. Zoe's going to give us an overview of the Activity Centres program as a whole, and then detail the VPA's plans for Niddrie and North Essendon. She'll also explain a bit about what this means for you and how you can have your say. And then once we come to the end of the presentation, we will get through as many of your questions as we can. I'd now like to hand over to Zoe from the VPA, who's going to run us through the plans. Over to you, Zoe.
Thank you very much, Elise. So my name is Zoe. I'm from the Communications and Engagement team at the Victorian Planning Authority. I know some of you would have seen me out in North Essendon today, actually, as we were having one of our community pop-ups. I'm joined here today as well by Martina and Layla. Martina is our Director of Activity Centres and Layla, one of our Senior Strategic Planners, who will help me in answering your questions at the end of the session. So first, a little bit about the Activity Centres program as a whole and why we're doing this. We want to provide all Victorians with the choice of a well-designed home at an affordable price in a place where they can thrive. And right across Victoria, not enough people have the chance to afford a home close to the people and places they love. We believe this isn't good enough and that the status quo is not an option. In September last year, the Victorian government released Victoria's housing statement, which is a bold plan to tackle Victoria's housing crisis. There are 39 different initiatives in the housing statement, and the Activity Centres program is one of them. This initiative is about building a future where every Victorian can afford a home that's right for them. Making sure that new homes are well located will allow us to maximise the use of existing infrastructure and transport. So the starting point is to look for places where more homes can be built and the types of homes we need to suit all kinds of Victorians in all kinds of places. Which brings in the Activity Centres program. So the role of the program is to enable 60,000 homes to be built close to jobs, services and transport across 10 activity centres across Melbourne. It's also designed to guide investment in the things that a growing community needs, like improved streets, parks, and community infrastructure. It's to create clearer rules about the types of new development that we need, provide increased certainty to the community about what new development to expect in your area, and also to develop a process for creating clearer and simpler planning rules, which can be rolled out across all of the other activity centres across Melbourne. There are more than 130 activity centres across the city overall, and they range in size and service offering. We think they're great places for more homes because they have a concentration of existing services, jobs, and transport. The Activity Centre program this year will deliver plans for an initial 10 of these 130. Activity centres are great locations for more homes, but we know there's so much more than that as well. They're vibrant places where people shop, work, connect with friends and family, as well as live, and they're ideal places to access your essential and daily needs. They range in size from local neighbourhood shopping strips to much larger centres with universities and major shopping malls. The initial 10 centres we've chosen, which you can see on the screen right now, represent a range of centres of different sizes, service offerings, and locations in Melbourne's inner, middle, and outer suburbs. Niddrie, Keilor Road, and North Essendon are 2 of our 10 initial activity centres because we know that they're great places to live. The shops, cafes, and restaurants along Mount Alexander Road and Keilor Road provide walkable access to daily needs. It's a family-friendly area with lots of parks and the Steel Creek, and the 59 tram, nearby train stations, and the Essendon Fields precinct make the area well connected to jobs, schools, and services. All of these things make Niddrie, North Essendon, and their surrounds a great location for more homes. I also want to address why we're consulting on both Niddrie and North Essendon as 2 separate activity centres in the one consultation. So because there are more than 130 centres across Melbourne, some of them are nearby to each other, and Niddrie and North Essendon, of course, are 2 of those. They neighbour each other, and we're introducing clear new rules for both of them at the same time. We know that for many community members, especially those that live near the border of these 2 centres, it doesn't make sense to think of them necessarily as 2 distinct places, and we don't want you to have to go through 2 different processes to be able to have your say. So to make it easier for the community, we've included all of the information about both activity centres in the one place on Engage Vic, and we're consulting on both of them together. I also want to acknowledge that we know that these activity centres are named after the main suburbs that they occupy, but they also take in parts of other suburbs like Essendon and Strathmore. Earlier this year, we asked your local community what you love about your local area. So thank you to everyone who provided feedback, submitted photos, and participated in our community reference group. We heard what you love about the Niddrie and North Essendon area, including the small businesses and the arcades and along Mount Alexander Road, the green spaces along Steel Creek, the shops and services on Keilor Road, and the beautiful old homes that have been renovated and maintained. We also heard about the local places that are important to you, like specific streets, parks, and the creek. We've used your feedback to make sure that our draft plans for Niddrie and North Essendon respect and strengthen the things that make your area unique. A one-size-fits-all approach to planning does not reflect the distinctiveness and local characteristics that make each place unique. So we've used your feedback, as well as input from a series of technical studies, to make sure our draft plans respect what makes your area special. Our plans will guide how Niddrie and North Essendon will slowly change over the next few decades, growing into a more lively, inclusive, and sustainable local community, and providing the new homes that we need between now and 2051. Our plans are guided by a vision statement, which is a statement describing the future that we want to see in your area. For Niddrie and North Essendon in particular, we want the area to be charming, walkable, and inviting. We want new buildings and new homes to create spaces for new homes. We want new buildings to create spaces for new homes and businesses, which in turn will make it a more vibrant and lively place. We want the area to be a village within the city, anchored around the palm tree-lined boulevard of Mount Alexander Road and the shops and services of Keilor Road. And we also want better and more accessible community services and open spaces to make this a better place for Niddrie and North Essendon communities into the future. Our plan also sets out objectives, the things that we're hoping to achieve in our plans. Our objectives are to deliver around 3,400 to 3,900 new homes in Niddrie, and about 5,100 to 6,200 new homes in North Essendon by 2051. We want to allow new development between 3 and 12 stories in the appropriate places, support the delivery of new infrastructure, as well as high-quality architecture and design, respect local environment and heritage, create clear and simple planning controls, and support the delivery of affordable housing. In our plans for Niddrie and North Essendon, we've divided the area into precincts. This map shows the precincts in our draft plans. Each precinct is based on the types of buildings, homes, and businesses that are already there, as well as the types that we want to see in the future. Each precinct has its own set of rules for building heights, setbacks, and other things like that to allow the right levels and types of development in each place. These on the screen now are the large opportunity sites that have a maximum building height of up to 10 stories. These are where there's one large site that's all owned by the one landowner. So it has the potential to develop into a new mini precinct of its own with multiple different buildings, new walkways, and new open spaces. Compared to our other precincts that I'll talk through, the large opportunity sites have extra rules that may require a developer to create a master plan for each site before they can develop there. This has a lot of benefits, which would encourage things like multiple separated buildings instead of one large building, as well as walking and cycling connections and new outdoor spaces. These are the Main Street precincts with maximum building heights of 8 stories. These will have shop fronts on the ground floor with homes above, and the taller stories will be set back behind the shop fronts, like you can see in that example image there, so that the street remains sunny and open and maintains its character. These are the limited sensitivities precincts with a maximum building height of 8 stories. These are large commercial or industrial properties that offer a lot of potential to be developed into new homes. These are the fringe precincts with a maximum building height of 6 stories. This is like a transition area between the busy main streets and the more quiet residential areas. They'll have a mixture of shop fronts and homes on the ground floor. These are the residential areas, so a maximum building height of 5 stories in these precincts. These are quieter, more residential areas that have some potential to offer more homes. And this area is the catchment. This catchment shows the catchment around both activity centres. This is the area that's within walking distance of the local jobs, services, and public transport of these centres, but it is not part of the activity centres themselves. When working out where the catchment should be, we looked at places that are within roughly 800 metres or about a 10-minute walk of the services and transport within the activity centre. We then excluded areas that aren't appropriate to be in the catchment, like places with protected industrial land or protected environmental areas. Building more homes in the catchment, that is within walking distance of local jobs, services, and transport, is a common sense way to create a more lively, inclusive, and sustainable local community. It will also provide an opportunity for more housing diversity, including high-quality social and affordable housing. Our plans will make sure we build the right types of homes in the catchment in the places where they fit best. Small apartment buildings between 3 to 6 stories will be built here over time, mixed with townhouses and existing homes. Only the largest blocks of land in the catchment will be able to build up to 5 or 6 stories. Smaller blocks will only be able to build up to 3 or 4 stories, and some homes and buildings may not change at all. But our plans don't just propose building heights, setbacks, and locations for more homes. We're also committed to making sure that Niddrie and North Essendon remain great places to live. One of the highlights for how we do this in our plans is our controls for better main streets. We want the main streets in our activity centres to be safe, inviting, and vibrant. So our draft plan includes rules about what we call active frontages, which means on certain streets, new buildings have to have space for shops and businesses on the ground floor with windows facing onto the streets. This makes our streets feel safe and inviting, and it creates more places for local businesses to thrive. We also want important places like our main streets and parks to feel sunny and open. Our plans make sure these important places stay sunny all year round. This is usually achieved using setbacks, so the upper stories of a building are less visible from the street, creating streets and parks that are more open to the sky. Our plans set specific requirements to make sure that important places are never in the shade, even on the shortest day of the year when the sun is lowest in the sky. Our plans also protect these places from negative wind impacts of new buildings as well. Earlier this year, we asked the community which streets, parks, and open spaces are most important to you, and your feedback helped shape our plans for these places. So our draft plans protect Woodlands Park, Lincoln Park, Wallace Mall, Mount Alexander Road, Allison Park, the LT Thompson Reserve, and many other places. We've also heard from the community that vibrant places with green parks and local community facilities are important to support housing growth. Niddrie and North Essendon already offer a lot of community services and infrastructure, including schools, community centres and sports facilities, and maternal and child health, as you can see highlighted on these maps. I know these maps are quite small in this presentation. They are available in full on Engage Vic. But as more people call Niddrie and North Essendon home, we want to make sure that the Victorian Government and your local council can continue to invest in these things that make the area great and livable. We're exploring options for a new and simplified approach for funding infrastructure. This new approach could provide direct contributions for councils and state government to deliver essential infrastructure. We're seeking community input on the types of local infrastructure that matter most to you to help us shape what this new funding approach could look like. We have a question about this in our survey on Engage Vic, so if there are specific upgrades to local infrastructure that you would like to see, please do let us know. We also want to reduce barriers to building new homes and create more certainty for councils, for developers, and for the community. Within the activity centres, we're introducing a new tool called a deemed to comply standard, which will relate to things like building heights, street wall heights, and setbacks. If a planning application for a new building meets our new deemed to comply standards, it will benefit from a streamlined planning approval pathway, which could include the removal of notice and review requirements. If a proposed new development within the Niddrie or North Essendon activity centres follows our clear new rules, the council cannot use heights or setbacks as a reason to refuse the development. This provides more certainty and can prevent having to go to VCAT, saving time and money. This streamlined new process is designed to improve investment conditions and get more homes built faster. However, this new process would only apply within the activity centres and not in the catchment. In the catchment area, normal planning processes, including notice and appeal, will still apply. So what does this mean for you? Niddrie and North Essendon will slowly change over the next few decades, providing the new homes that we need between now and 2051. We expect that larger and unused blocks of land will develop first. They provide the best opportunities to deliver new homes the soonest. Other areas like streets with lots of existing homes on smaller blocks will develop more slowly or may experience very little change at all. I want to be clear as well that our new rules do not require anyone who lives in or owns property in the area to do anything. Once our plans are in place, landowners will have clear new rules to follow if you want to build new homes on your land. Each landowner can decide if and when you want to build new homes, and if you don't want to change anything on your property, you don't have to. However, landowners will have more opportunities to build more different types of homes on their property if they want to. So over time, you may see more homes being built in your neighbourhood and more people joining your community. In turn, this will mean more customers and opportunities for local businesses and a generally more lively and vibrant community. It also critically means that more Victorians will have the chance to find a home that's right for them. I know that was a lot of information to cover, but everything I just ran through is also available on our website on Engage Victoria. Your feedback is important, and you have the chance now to have your say. Once you've read about our draft plans, please visit Engage Victoria to complete our survey and share your thoughts. Our survey is open until the end of the day on Sunday, the 29th of September. Once our survey closes, we're going to analyse the feedback that we received and use it to finalise our draft plans with the aim to implement them by the end of this year.